Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I have not put makeup on my face in a whole hot second. I've been very busy. School got really wild. But I thought it would be fun today if I sat down and did my face to kind of unwind a little bit. And I have pulled all of my least expensive makeup products. I want to see how good of a full face I can get with the cheapest products in my collection. So I just went through every category, grabbed the one that was the least expensive. I'm going off of retail value, not how much I actually paid for it. So if something was on sale or if I got it through like the drop sales on BoxyCharm or something, that doesn't count. I'm going off of the full retail price that you can get it for. I use the Ulta website, but everything should be about the same. So I'm thinking about also doing this with my most expensive makeup products. So leave me a comment if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. I think that would be really fun as well. So without any further ado, let's get right into this full face of my most affordable makeup. Always have to start out with my influencer headband. Today it kind of matches my shirt. My God, I'm like color coordinated. Fun. Okay, so let's start with the eyes. I actually went ahead and primed my eyes off camera because I don't really have an eyeshadow primer I feel like is worth talking about. So we're going to start with eyeshadow. I'm sure you already know what I'm going to say for my most affordable eyeshadow palettes. I think pretty much everybody who talks about these, it's their most affordable eyeshadow palettes. These are the bite-sized palettes from e.l.f. They're so good. I've talked about these ridiculous amount before, so I won't go on and on, but $3 each, fantastic quality. You gotta get one. e.l.f. has actually been raising their prices a little bit, trying to keep up with the market, but these have stayed $3. The price has not changed. So I think today I'm gonna use cream and sugar a little because I'm trying to pan this one. So if I can get some use out of it, that would be good. And then I think some of the mid-tones from this one. This one's called Truffles. I'm going to keep it pretty neutral. That's just kind of what I do, especially when I'm wearing colors. So let's go ahead and start with those. So I'm actually going to start by taking this mid-tone brown from Truffles, and I'm just going to run that through my crease and buff it out as a transition color. Next, I'm going to deepen up my creases a little bit with this darker brown from the Cream and Sugar palette. I also added a little bit more of the mid-tone brown to my crease. And now I'm going to use this lighter shade from the Cream and Sugar palette to just kind of blend the edges out. So I have that base laid down. They're so good. I mean, they're $3 and they blend so beautifully and they're so pigmented, and I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but trust me, these are amazing. For shimmers, I'm going to use the ones from the Cream and Sugar palette because they are my favorite. I'm going to take these two, kind of combine them a little bit, mostly keep this one toward the outer half, this one toward the inner half, I think. That's kind of how I tend to like to work with these. So that's kind of what we have going so far. These are so shiny. You can't even fully tell how shiny the shimmers in this palette are. They are so stunning. And seriously, this looks like I put it together with a high-end palette, but I used palettes that are worth $6 total. If you haven't hopped on the hype train for the bite-sized eyeshadow palettes, you should. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add a little eyeliner. This is the LA Girl Gel Glide eyeliner. This is $3.49, and I like it. It's not, like, I don't think a groundbreaking eyeliner, but, I mean, it draws really easily. It's a nice formula. It didn't change my life, but it's good. Especially when you factor in the fact that it's $3.50. So I prefer to do my eyeliner, especially when I'm using a pencil, as just a really thin line right next to my lash line. Some people just call that tight lining. I think tight lining is more when you go in like the actual upper waterline, which I will sometimes do, but usually I just kind of keep a really thin line next to my lash line. So I like this eyeliner. I don't think it's bad. I think it looks really nice on my lash line. I think my one thing that I would improve is I would make it just a skosh creamier, just a little bit easier to apply. I feel like when you first get it going, it kind of needs to warm up a little bit, and so this eye, I felt like I kind of had to keep going over spots and tugging a little. This side, it went on a little bit easier because it already had kind of melted the tip a little bit. I wish it kind of had just gone on like that in the first place. But it's not bad, and for $3.50, I mean, I know for a fact this stays on really well. So if you're looking for a really, really cheap eyeliner, it's not bad. It'll work for you. Next, I'm going to go ahead and prime my face, and I'm going to be using the Hard Candy Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer. This stuff is fantastic. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for a chance to talk about this one. This is $6.96 from Walmart, which I think is pretty much the only place you can get hard candy. It is so good. See if this looks familiar. It's a dupe for the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. But I actually find that even though I would say the stickiness level is pretty comparable, this one is a little bit more hydrating. Like, I feel like this one actually kind of sinks into the skin a little bit and really hydrates the face. And I don't think the Milk does that as well. I think the Milk kind of tends to sit on top a little bit more. And for how much cheaper this one is, for it to do the same thing the Milk one does and give my face hydration, like, why wouldn't I only ever get this one? So, love this one. If you've tried the Hydro Grip Primer in the past and you liked it, give this one a try, because honestly, I really don't think you'll be disappointed. Okay, my face is nice and tacky, but it still has that dewy hydration to it, which of course is my favorite thing. So we're gonna go ahead and go on with foundation next. This is the Believe Beauty Skin Finish Foundation. This is available at Dollar General. It is $5. $5. For this really nice, like, glass bottle with a pump, it's $5. Like, I don't know. I don't know. So I'm just going to take a little bit on the back of my hand, and then I'm going to put it on my face. I like this foundation. I feel like it's pretty. One thing about it that I'm not sure is my favorite is it's kind of thick. I've been really into more of the liquidy serum texture foundations. It doesn't really affect how it performs. That's just a preference for me. As you can see, the coverage is insane. I probably didn't even really need this much. That was probably on me. But for $5... One thing I can say, though, is even though it is more of like a thick texture foundation, it does not emphasize texture at all. That's one of my big problems with most foundations that have that thicker texture, is that they kind of tend to really let your texture show. And thinner foundations don't really do that as much, just because there's less product sitting on top of it. But with this one, I don't see that at all. This one, I feel like, smooths right over that texture and just makes it look like doll skin. I don't know, it's crazy. I will say, though, if you're not a coverage gal, this one's probably not for you. It is very full coverage. Like, this is a beat now. This is a full beat now, which I can get behind. I enjoy a full beat from time to time, but just be aware, if you're more of a skin tinted moisturizer girly, this is not that. But just look at how flawless my skin looks, and the glow comes through. I'm such a sucker for this exact kind of look. Oh my gosh. That is such a good foundation, and it's $5. Ridiculous. Believe Beauty is a slept-on line in general, I feel like. I talked about their cream blush in my underrated makeup video, and just trust me, okay? Trust me. Speaking of things I talked about in my underrated makeup video, I also talked about this. This is the Wet n Wild Megaglo Concealer Stick. This is also the cheapest concealer in my collection at a whopping $4.49. It's really, really beautiful. It's less coverage, which I feel like is fine because that foundation was so full coverage. This is a little lighter, a little more sheer, way emollient. So creamy and beautiful in texture. It's really nice. So usually what I do is just that. I will kind of rub my finger on the top, melt it in a little bit, and then just pat it underneath my eyes. I feel like this helps it sink in better than using a brush or a sponge, because it's such an emollient texture. And a sponge, I feel like, kind of picks up coverage a little bit, and it already is a little bit more of a lighter coverage concealer. So that's kind of how I do it. But I find that this just hydrates the under eyes. That emollients it has really just helps to fill in those creases. And because it's kind of hydrating your under eyes, it just kind of makes them look healthy and a little bit dewy, plumped up. I just think it looks beautiful. So you can see it's even added a little bit of that dewy, hydrated look to my under eyes. I love this stuff. And it lasts a really long time, honestly. I was so surprised because it's so emollient. I was like, oh, it's going to rub right off. I've worn this without powder and it didn't come off. And it didn't sink into my eye creases. I, I don't know, man. Wet n Wild is good. Wet n Wild makes good stuff. So $4.49. It's a great concealer, super reliable. I love this stuff. While we're on Wet n Wild stick products, let's keep it up. This is the Wet n Wild Stick Contour. I have mine in the shade Where's Walnut. It looks pretty dark. It is kind of dark for me. That being said, the other two shades in this particular cream contour, it's not really a contour, it's more of a bronzer, are super yellow and super orange. Similar to the concealer, I feel like it has that really easy blendability to it, but I feel like it's a little bit less emollient so that once you place it down on your face, it stays right there, because you don't really need the same hydrating property as you do in a concealer. But like I said, goes on a little bit dark for me, but it's very easy to blend out. I usually just apply it directly to my brush, just kind of tap it on there, and then go in gently, and the tone ends up working out just fine. You can see how easy that's blending on. Not a bit of patchiness, which I partially credit to this brush. This is one of the IT brushes for Ulta. I have no idea which one it is, but it's great. You would be able to get away with this shade if you are a little deeper than me, just because I am going in with a lighter hand. If you're much deeper than me, probably not. I don't know if they have a darker shade than this. And the concealer is just embarrassing. I think they have maybe 2 shades of it, and they're both super light. It's kind of sad. The formulas are great, though, so if you can find a shade that works for you, I highly recommend it. Potentially kind of over-applied my brush there, but this formula is so easy to blend out that it just still looks so beautiful and natural. I mean, look at that. It just warms up the face just enough. Seamless, right? Again, $4.49. So that is by far my most affordable cream bronzer. And I'm kind of a cream bronzer girl these days. I've been trying a bunch. And this one holds up, honestly. It blends as easily as some of my expensive high-end ones that I consider to be my favorites. And again, while we're on Wet n Wild stick products, I have the blush from the same line. So this is the megaglo blush stick. This is the shade Floral Majority. It's just a really beautiful, easy, rosy pink color. I feel like the blushes are the least impressive out of the 3 stick products that I've tried, but it's not because they're bad. I just kind of wish that the pigment packed more of a punch. I feel like it could be giving a little bit more. And unfortunately, the blush shades are also fairly limited, and they're also fairly light. So I tend to be a heavy-handed blush girl, so I'm really like coating this brush. And it's not that it doesn't give me pigment. You can see that it does. And it's a beautiful color. But I will say that it's not that easy to build up. I feel like once I get a base layer of color down, I could keep applying and applying and applying over it, and it would never really get any brighter than when I initially put it on, if that makes sense. You can see the color is beautiful. It blends super easy, and it doesn't take any of that dewiness out of my face. But it's also not ultra dewy in itself. The contour is the same way. It's not a particularly dewy finish in itself, but it doesn't take any of the shine that you had away. So that's those. Like I said, all 3 are $4.49, delightful. If you can find a shade in any of these that work for you, can't say enough good things. I haven't tried the highlighter sticks, so that's the one where I would say I cannot endorse those yet. I would like to try one. Let's go ahead and do something about these brows because they're really starting to bug me. I'm going to throw some clear gel in there first before I go in with my tinted gel. Sometimes I just find with like the fiber gels, it helps them stick a little bit better. So for clear gel, I have this e.l.f. the double-sided clear brow gel and mascara. This is $3. I like this stuff. It's not like a mega hold brow gel, but for this purpose where I'm just trying to give my next product something to stick to, it's great for that. I've bought this multiple times. The good thing about it is you can use both sides in your brows. The clear mascara and the brow gel, I don't buy that they're different. And even if they are, it works fine. So I am pretty much out of the marked brow side, so I'm going to be using the mascara side on my brows because it doesn't matter. And again, it's basically getting double the product for $3. So, hey, why not? So I'm going to just kind of back comb it and then brush it up. Back comb it and then brush it up. Not being super precise with the placement of the brows right now because I'm going to go back in with a tinted brow gel, and then I'll be a little bit more careful about where I'm putting it. While I wait for that to dry a little bit, I'm going to powder my under eyes. I have two powders for this video. I have an all-over finishing powder and an under eye powder. For the under eye powder, I have this Essence Brighten Up powder. It's a banana powder. I love this stuff. I've bought it several times, and it is $4.99. My one complaint with this powder is, despite the fact that I have bought it several times, I'm not entirely sure I've ever actually used one up because the friggin' packaging breaks every single time. I need Essence to fix their packaging thing. I've had a bunch of stuff from them, and it always breaks, and it gets really old because then I have to go buy a new one even though I'm not out. But anyway, this one hasn't broken yet. And I mean, it's $5. You're kind of getting what you pay for in the packaging department, and the products are really good. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this on my sponge and just tap it under my eyes. I'm going to go with a really thin layer because I'm just trying to get rid of a little bit of the shine that emollients from the concealer gives. I'm not really trying to set it because it stays set. And then it does an awesome job, of course, brightening your under eyes. I think it looks great. I love this stuff. For the all over the face finishing powder, I think I've also talked about this before. This is the e.l.f. Perfect HD finishing powder. No, just kidding. Perfect Finish HD powder. Same difference. It's $6. Looks very scary. Promise it's translucent. Very similar to the texture of the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores or Bye Bye Under Eye. I don't know. It's whatever the powder one is. I think it's Bye Bye Pores. Anyway, point is, it's so smoothing, so beautiful, but it doesn't get rid of all of your shine. It takes down the shine a little. Like right here around the corners of my nose, I don't necessarily want to be that shiny. Sometimes my forehead gets a little shinier than I want it to be. It takes that down, but it's not gone. So I'm glad that this ended up being my cheapest finishing powder because I'm obsessed with it. I'm mostly keeping it in the areas that I want to take the shine down a touch, but then I'm going to take it just a little over my cheek products so that I can apply powder on top. So that's that one. You can see my face literally looks like it has a filter on it. The combination of that foundation and that finishing powder are beyond. I can't believe I'm not wearing highlighter. Do you see that? That's how I know I found a really good dewy base, is when I look like I'm wearing highlighter and I don't have any on yet. So let's go ahead and finish these brows. I'm going to go ahead and use the Essence Make Me Brow. It is $3.99, and it is a great little brow gel. It has kind of fibers in it, so it really makes your brows look fuller. I'm working on panning this one, but it takes forever because it's very pigmented and it's a little bit dark for my eyebrows, so a little goes a very long way. It's a little bit wet in formula, which is not my favorite thing. I don't dislike it. I love how it makes my brows look. It can just be a little unwieldy to work with. But once you get the hang of it, it looks great. But for somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience with brow gels, this might be a little bit too hard to work with. I know I struggled a lot when I first tried it. There are ones that I think are better for people who don't really want to finesse their brow gel. They just kind of want to go and be done. And that's understandable. I'm just high maintenance, so I don't mind. Like I said, it can be a little unruly. But it works out in the end. You just kind of have to finesse it. So you can see it did a good job filling in my brows, but it still looks like natural hairs because of those fibers. I will say that out of all of the brow gels that claim to have fibers in them, this one has the most legit, like actual feels like there's fibers in there that are actually making your brows look thicker. So I like that about it. Like I showed you though, it can get a little bit messy. So would I buy this again at $3.99? I'm probably not going to repurchase it when I run out, actually, and the reason for that is for $5, which is only $1 more, you can get the e.l.f. Wow Brow, which I feel like is just a more user-friendly formula. I don't think it does as much in terms of the fibers, but it's so much easier to use and less messy that I feel like the trade-off is worth it. Let me know in the comments if you've ever tried either one of those and what your thoughts are, though, because I'm curious. Everybody's preferences are super different. That's just my take. Not a bad brow gel, though. I like it, obviously, or I wouldn't be using it and trying to pan it. Okay, before we move on, I did draw in a couple of extra little strokes with a brow pencil just to fill in where I feel like the gel didn't really catch. So that's why they look a little bit different. But moving on from the brows, let's go back to the complexion. Powder bronzer. I've talked about this one before too, and with good reason, because it's amazing. This is the Wet n Wild Color Icon Bronzer in the shade Sunset Striptease. I adore this. It is $6.99. I think it is worth every penny and then some. You could sell this at Sephora and I would buy it even still. You can see it has that little bit of a golden gleam to it, which just makes it translate so satiny and smooth and beautiful on the cheeks. I love this stuff so much. You can really dig, and it never goes on like too much. I don't know. Like, it's not that it doesn't have pigment, it does. It's just that it never looks like it's too much. Like, look at that. It takes no effort. I don't know. It adds just the right amount of color and a little bit of that sheen so you never lose the dewy look. It's gorgeous. I love this stuff. Like I said, I would buy it if it cost double, triple this price. $6.99, Target, Walmart, whatever. I can't say enough. Yeah, it's just that good. It's just that good. You saw it in action. So the least expensive powder blush in my collection right now is actually newer to me. This is from the video I did with my mom where we bought a bunch of drugstore makeup and tried it on. If you haven't seen that, I will link it down below. But this is the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blush. I have mine in the shade Rosy Rosewood. It is a gorgeous color. The formula is nice. I feel like it has a little bit of sheen to it, but this is one of the shades that's a little more matte than the others, but it's not completely matte. It has a little bit of a satin finish to it. I don't fully have strong feelings on this blush either way yet. Sometimes when I apply it, I'm like, wow, I love how that went on, and I do like how it ends up looking. The problem is that sometimes it skips a little bit. Sometimes it deposits kind of unevenly. So I'm still kind of deciding my full feelings, and maybe I'll be able to elucidate them a little bit better after this, but we'll see how it goes. It's been a little bit inconsistent with its application, is what I'm trying to say, is the short version of all of that. You can see the color is stunning. Look at that beautiful shade. See, right now I feel like it's applying really well. I feel like in the past I've had trouble getting the amount of pigment that I want. I would either get too much or too little. This side especially, I feel like it gave me exactly the amount of pigment that I want. See, this is where it kind of gets to be a problem because I felt like, oh, there's not enough right here, added a little bit more, now it feels like too much. My nose felt like not enough, so now I add a little more, now it feels like too much, and I don't know. I'm back and forth, but, I mean, look at the shade, and this side went on like a dream. So, again, I'm still kind of undecided because it's still kind of inconsistent, but I think right now it looks really, really beautiful. So, I'm not mad at it, but even at $5.99, I think that you can get blushes that do at least this well for less, actually. Essence's other blushes, actually, the line that's just called The Blush, perform better than these, I think. That being said, the packaging of those is atrocious. These are a little more sturdy. So, you know, if packaging matters to you, then maybe go for these. I don't know. Point is, they're nice, you know? They're fine. And again with Essence, because Essence and Wet n Wild, I feel like, are the most consistently affordable brands at the drugstore, hands down. So this is Essence The Highlighter, not to be confused with the Pure Nude Highlighter. This is just the highlighter. The Pure Nude Highlighter, I think, is $5 or $6. This one is $3.99, so not too bad. I do prefer the Pure Nude Highlighter, though, just as a general rule. And, like I said, the packaging on these ones, much flimsier. So, again, you win some, you lose some. This is like if you took the Pure Nude Highlighter and turned up the volume notch just a smidge. The shine is not that different. I really like the finish of it. I love the finish of the Pure Nude Highlighter. This is just that, but just a little more. A little more, which, you know, I'm a highlighter girl, so I'm fine with that. So I'm just kind of dipping in. It's an interesting texture. It's packed pretty hard down, and it looks like it's not really all that shiny. Like, you look at the brush and you're like, where's the shine? And then you're like, oh, you know, there it is. There it is. It's there, man. Like, you can definitely tell it's there. Holy free holy. I just looked at myself in the side mirror and oh my god, is it there? And I mean, it's $4. Yeah, I feel like it blends in super easily. It doesn't look like it's sitting on top. I'm looking in this side mirror because I feel like I can see it a little bit better at this angle. It doesn't look like it's sitting on top. It sinks right into my skin. It looks super smooth. It's not emphasizing the texture on top of my cheekbones. And yeah, it's a good little highlighter, man. For $4, I don't really have anything bad to say, other than the friggin' packaging. But when I pulled this out of the box, when I got this from Ulta a while ago, I was like, I don't know. This doesn't really look like it's going to be all that much of a highlighter. And I was wrong, because it's pretty good. But again, I don't think it goes overboard. I don't think it's like icy, shiny, glittery bang. It has, you know what? I think I know what I like about it that makes it look very pretty, similar to the Pure Nude highlighter. It has a similar, very, very thin texture to it. That's something I've started really looking for in highlighters, because that's going to be the difference between something that really emphasizes your texture and something that sinks right into your skin. Is, you know those highlighters that are really thick and like creamy, which to me I think is a good thing in like some shimmer eyeshadow formulas, but in a highlighter it makes a stripe on your cheek, and when you try to blend it out, it really emphasizes the texture. I found that the thinner the highlighter formula, the more easily it can really blend down into the skin and melt into the rest of your makeup. So that's just what I look for in a highlighter formula. Different strokes for different folks, but that's kind of how I've started discerning whether or not I think I'm gonna like a highlighter formula. And this fits that bill. It's very thin, but obviously very shiny, very beautiful. It's a good highlighter, man. I forget how good this is. I don't use this enough. I don't know if you can hear somebody's car alarm going off, but apologies. I'm going to finish up this eye look by just going on my lower lash line. I'm going to take a little bit of that mid-tone brown and just run it under my lower lash line. Then I'm going to take that lighter shimmer shade, pop it in my inner corner, and that should be enough for the eye look. I really have a dent going in this lighter shimmer shade. I use it so much. It makes a bonkers inner corner highlight. How about that? Amazing. So good. $3. I'm so serious. If you're not on the bite-sized palette train, get on it. Mascara. Of course, we're back to Essence. The Essence Lash Princess Mascara. These are $4.99 each. I have a couple different ones. I have this one, which is the Curl and Volume, and I have the green one, which is the False Lash Effect. I actually prefer the False Lash Effect, but I use this one less, so I felt like I should pull it out. And also the last time I talked about the Lash Princess mascaras, I'm pretty sure I used the False Lash Effect. So this one's turn. Anybody else with a big makeup collection feel like they have to kind of rotate through everything? Like you're not showing things enough love, they'll be sad or something? So the mascara's on. Kind of hard to see in any real detail how it makes my lashes look, but I think they look really beautiful. The reason I tend to prefer the False Lash Effect over this one is purely because I feel like that one gives me a little more length with a little less product. It's not that you can't get length out of this one, you definitely can. I just feel like you have to build it a little bit more. This one I think does more of the volume and the fluffy lash look, which is good sometimes too. So mascaras are so personal, your preferences are totally individual. So if you're like me and you tend to prefer a little bit more of the big, long, but kind of fluttery, wispy lash look, then I would recommend the False Lash Effect. But if you tend to prefer the more floofy, but a little less long lash look, this is a beautiful one for that. So really, they both look fantastic on the eyes. And for $5, you may as well just buy both. Be like me, be a mascara hoarder. Don't do that. They expire. I'm not taking my own advice, but they expire. And I think finally we're just moving on to lips. So for my lip liner, I have this one from LA Girl. It is the Perfect Precision Lip Liner. This one is in the shade Sugar and Spice. These are a very traditional wooden pencil lip liner. They are a little bit drier of a formula than a lot of lip liners that I tend to like. That's not always a bad thing. They don't drag super badly going on the lips. I think that the NYX pencil lip liners are smoother though, and those are only $4. So, you know, we're talking pennies here. But technically these are the cheapest ones that I have. And these drag just a touch more. It's not bad though. And what I will say is that it makes them last an unbelievably long time. These do not budge once you get them on because they have a little bit more of a drier formula. So let me go ahead and apply this. It does get a little bit creamier and easier to apply as you go. So like when you first apply it, it's pretty dry, but as the sort of warmth of your lips makes it a little bit more creamy, it goes on a little bit easier. To be totally real with you though, if I was going to recommend one, I would say just spend the extra 50 cents and get the NYX ones. That's my humble opinion. These aren't bad, I just don't like them as much. And finally, I'm going to go ahead and just go in with a lip gloss. This is the Wet n Wild Megaslicks lip gloss. These are $3.99. I have mine in the shade Nude Mood. This one is pigmented-ish. None of them are really super pigmented. This one has a little bit of pigment to it, but they have a bunch of different like super sheer shades and stuff like that. I really like these. I think they don't really smell like much. What I like about them is they're very, very thin in texture. They're very smooth and not at all sticky. Very important things to me in a lip gloss. I can go for a thicker lip gloss as well. I don't hate thick lip gloss. Sometimes that can be really nourishing and hydrating. Sticky is a deal breaker. So these are really good for that. They're very smooth and very non-sticky. So you can see it's pretty shiny. Not ultra shiny, but it's got shine. And I really feel like the defining characteristic of this lip gloss is that it is so thin. It's very, very lightweight. You can barely even tell you have anything on. I would compare the texture more to like a true lip oil. A lot of lip oils right now are like really thick and goopy because they're super hydrating. It's not that kind of texture. It is very much like an oil texture. Goes on super thin, super smooth, and no stick. So it's not going to last very long because it is that kind of texture, but I don't really expect lasting power out of my lip glosses anyway. So for $3.99, it's a handy little gloss. It's comfy, looks pretty. I don't think it's groundbreaking, but for $3.99, I don't really expect my lip glosses to be groundbreaking, so it's a good one. So that's it, you guys. This is my full face of the cheapest makeup in my collection, and honestly, just looking at it, I don't think you'd ever know it. I think it looks really, really gorgeous, and if you told someone that this was all luxury high-end makeup, I honestly think they'd believe you. It just looks so nice. I feel like it has just the right amount of dewiness. The cheek colors are gorgeous. The lips look juicy. The eyeshadow turned out amazing, but it always does with those e.l.f. palettes. Really happy with how this look turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like this video if you enjoyed this idea, and if you want to see my most expensive makeup in a full face, we'll put it to the test against this full face. So we're gonna remember this one, remember how impressed we are, and we'll see if the most expensive makeup can compete. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you subscribe down below so you can catch that video when it comes out, and I will see you guys in the next one very soon. Bye.